All right. Hi, 7th graders. You are here with me with my third period. Let's see. Can you see you on the screen? Yeah. So you're here with third period. We are doing a video together for the notes. First thing that you need to know is that we have to change. We have to rotate. Let me get rid of this. Sorry. We have to rotate counterclockwise. Well, at the beginning, you'll need to rotate both times so that you can get your paper the right direction. You just click these 3 little lines and then you click rotate until it's correct. So we're starting here with the part that has all of the words. So we're learning something brand new today. Constant of proportionality is actually a combination of a bunch of things that we have already learned. So your first part, the definition, constant of proportionality is the constant ratio of y to x. So it's the ratio of y to x. When you're graphing on a coordinate plane, which one's the y-axis, the up and down or the sideways one? The y is the vertical one, the one that's up and down. And I probably need to turn my camera back on, but I don't know how to do that. Whoops. So the vertical axis is the y. It's the one that's up and down. And the x is the sideways one. It's the horizontal. That's the same order pairs. This is the same x and y as that. Constant of proportionality is the same thing as a unit rate. Shinar, you're not allowed to answer this because you told me yesterday. What is a unit rate? Where the second number is a 1. So if a unit rate is a constant of proportionality, it will look like this. It'll have some number over 1 unit. So that's the same as what we've already worked with. We can still set up what does proportionality sound like? Proportion. We can still set up a proportion just like we did yesterday to find our unit rates. So this all ties together, proportions and constant of proportionality and unit rates. And what we did yesterday with equivalent ratios, they all go together. Now this part I think is weird. Constant of proportionality is always noted by the letter K. I don't know why it's a K and not a C. I'm not the boss of this. But constant of proportionality is written with the letter K, where K is the X and the Y, K is the Y over the X. So Y always goes on top, X always goes on the bottom. So we're looking at an equation. What 2 things does an equation have to be an equation? You guys remember? You've been working with them for a long time. You can be louder. I can't hear you. I know I'm really loud so that the microphone will pick me up. It will not pick you guys up. An equal sign. So it's got to have an equal sign. What's the other thing an equation has? It has a number that you don't know and you replace it with a variable. So an equation has to have a variable and an equal sign. The equation for constant of proportionality looks like this. It has a y, it has an x, and it has a k in it, but it has to be in this order. Y equals kx. It's that same y, it's that same x, it's that same k. It's just written in a little different order. And actually, you guys can probably figure this out. If that is divide by x, you would just multiply by x to cancel it out, and then you get y equals k times x. It's the exact same equation, just in a different form. If it is not in this form, then it is not a proportional relationship. That means that there's not the same ratio of y to x. Something messes it up. So our first one, we have y equals 1/3 x. Do you see how the y is the same? The equal sign is the same. But what did they put instead of the k? The 1/3, and then the x is the same. It's in the exact same format. So what do you think we put for k? The 1/3. That's all there is to it. Now, how do I erase that? So in this question, 1/3 is our constant of proportionality. It's just whatever number is in front of the x, as long as the rest of the equation is all the same. Record again. So the second example, it has y equals 4x plus 1. So the y is the same format. The equal to, instead of k, what number did they put in? 4. The x is the same. However, since it has a plus 1, that messes it up, and that makes it not a proportional relationship. It has to be in this format with y equals kx. It can't have any pluses or minuses. We can't add anything in there. So that one is not proportional. And if I were you, I would circle the plus 1 so that you will know that it's not, that's what made it not proportional. That's what messed it up. So in this example, you saw that it is this right format because it's got y equals, it's got the x, and you told me that the k is negative 6.3. So it is allowed to be negative. How about the last one? Is it correct in the correct format or not? It's not. What messed it up? The 2, the exponent. So since it has an exponent, it's not allowed to have an exponent. There's no exponent by the x, so that one is also not proportional. So now we're looking at constant and proportionality in tables. First, you make a ratio of, same thing we did up here. Which one goes on top, the y or the x? Y is always on top. So first, you'll take your table, you'll make a ratio of y, sorry, I was trying to make it a different color to color code. A ratio of y over x for all the pairs. And then you'll simplify. And did we pass out calculators already? Yes. So in your calculator, if you just had to simplify, what button do you press to put your number in your calculator? You guys remember? How do you put a fraction in the calculator? With the ABC button. Though we did find out that you can't put a negative in the denominator using the ABC button. I do not know why. I don't know why your calculator is mean like that. So you could also just divide. The only exception is if x equals 0, we do not make the ratio because that point 0, 0 is always proportional. Let me type that too, because you can't see it very well. My handwriting is bad. I'm going too fast. What did I just do? I don't know either. Like, my computer hates me. Computer, I'm so nice to you. You're so wonderful. There we go. So if it is proportional, it has to go through the point 0, 0. Like if you're, somebody give me a donut cost. How much do you charge for your donuts? I mean your cupcakes, $5. So one cupcake costs How much? So 2 cupcakes cost, and 3 cupcakes cost, and 0 cupcakes cost $0. So 0 is always a proportional number. If it has anything else with 0, it's automatically not proportional and is wrong. And if it's not proportional, it's not equal ratios, it's not constant proportionality, it's not any of those things. So if we're looking at this first part, we put 6 over -2. Why does 6 go on top? Because it's the y, so y always goes on top. I know, why did it just do that? Like I had it already and then it went to the whole wrong thing. There we go. So how about the next one? What goes on top? The 3, because the y always goes on top. So 3 over -1. And then you could just simplify or divide in this one. What's 3 divided by 1? 3, and a positive divided by negative is a negative. So 3 divided by -1 is just -3. What did we say about 0, 0? It's always correct. So we just skip 0, 0. We don't worry about that one. How about that last one? What goes on top, the 1 or the -3? -3. So this one can be pretty easy too. You just have to remember, always put the y on top, always put the x on the bottom. And what's -3 divided by 1? What did you notice? That they what? Sorry, let me pause it. I just realized that they're all equal. So if they are all equal, if they're all equivalent, then it is proportional. If any of them are different, except for 0, 0, if any of them are different, then it is not proportional. So they all equaled -3, so our k is -3. How would you write that as an equation? If we went back up here to the equation part, what would it look like if our k is -3? Y equals -3, perfect. So if you had to turn your table into the equation, it would just be y equals -3x. Any questions about that example? So how about the next one? What do we do for 0, 0? It's always correct. We just skip it. So we don't worry about 0, 0. How do I write the 1, 2? Is it 1 over 2 or 2 over 1? Because you always put the y on top. So it will be 2 over 1. And 2 divided by 1 is just 2. How about the next one? How would you write that one? 6 over 2, because you always put the y on top. So 6 over 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. What's the problem? They're not the same. They're not equal. So we can tell right now, just from these two, we know that it's not proportional because they are not equal. And the last way, in a graph, in order for a graph to be proportional, it has to be two things. So this part, I wish that we had given you more space because you got to write two things in here. So it should be linear, which means it is a straight line. Yep, so it has to be straight line. We do have to know that word though. We have to know that linear means straight line. Linear line, exactly. And do you remember what the name of the point in the middle of the graph is called, where the X and the Y axis cross over? Starts with an O. The origin. And it also has to pass through the origin, which is 0.00. And that's as easy as it gets. You just check, is it a straight line? Yep. Does it go through 0, 0? Yep. Then we know it is proportional. And we still find our K. We can still find our constant of proportionality by dividing, if it goes through 0, 0. We can only do this if it goes through 0, 0. We can do the Y dividing the Y. Let me put it over here. I don't know why they gave us two spaces. You're going to do the Y divided by the X. Same thing that we've been doing, right? Y on top, X on the bottom. You'll just do your Y point divide by your X point. So that first example, is it linear? Yeah, it's a straight line. So yep, it's linear. Does it go through a 0, 0? Yes, it does. So it goes through a 0, 0. And then pick a point. So I know it's hard to see, but I can see that this is this point right here. It went over 1 and up 2. But remember how it tricks you? Which one is the Y, the 1 or the 2? The 2, because for some reason, remember, I'm not the boss of this. I didn't decide to put the X first and the Y second. But the Y is the second one. So our constant of proportionality here is 2 over 1. And 2 over 1 is the same thing as, what's 2 divided by 1? 2. So it's just 2. So you check, is it linear? You check, does it go through 0, 0? Write that down and then 4-minute break. So for this next one, like you guys already told me, it is not linear because it's not straight. So it's not proportional. It does go through the origin, but it has to be both. If it's not both, it's wrong. So that one is not proportional. How about the last one? Is it linear? Yeah, it's a straight line. Does it go through 0, 0? Wait, that would be where the two axes cross. I know it's not a very good copy, but it doesn't go through 0, 0. Therefore, it is not proportional.